Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Cyber Preserve. This is your host Aastha. I hope everybody is staying safe and is at home. And today we are going to have a cybersecurity male allies cybersecurity panel discussion. And for that, I have my co-host with me, Zoe Braiterman. Hi Zoe.
Hi Aastha, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And along with Zoe, we have three wonderful male allies with us today who are leaders in cybersecurity and are going to play a major role today in our cyber panel discussion. So I would like to welcome our three male panelists for today. Hi, Francesco. Hi, Haral. And hi, Scott. Welcome to the channel and thanks for coming today.
Hey, Aastha. Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
It's great to be here today.
Welcome. Before we go forward and kick off the session, I would like to hand over to my panelists today to introduce themselves a bit more in details to the audience so that we can go forward with our discussion. So any of you can go ahead and introduce yourself in detail.
Okay, I'm Scott. I've been working in security for 2 years since I graduated from the University of Florida. I've been a security consultant at Synopsys doing penetration testing, and I got into security in the security club at UF, and I go to a lot of conferences when I'm allowed to, and lots of diversity and inclusion events, and I love security, and so yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Scott.
Hi, I'm Haral Tsitsivas, and I've been in security for over 20 years. Actually, started even further back than that, probably like 35 years ago when I was system administrator, and I was forced into that. And I realized that really can't do that without being security conscious. And I've been running the Orange County chapter of OWASP for the past 6 years.
Thank you for the lovely introduction. Francesco?
Last but not last, hi everyone, I'm Francesco Cipollone, also known as Fransec42 on Twitter. I'm the director of a security consultancy in London and UK called NSC42, and small but growing Security Phoenix is another one on application security. I've been more or less around the IT security field for now 12 years, more or less, and counting, with consultancy and other stuff. And as you guys know, I'm a big supporter of women in cyber, or actually any kind of person in cyber. And I've been running events for those, empowering some of them and mentoring some of them. So glad to be here to share the news.
Thank you so much. So let's start the discussion. So the very first topic for discussion today is you guys are into cybersecurity for like over a period of time now. So how did you guys start it off, and what has been your journey? What are some of the struggles you want to share with the audience during this journey, and what actually some of the experience that you feel really proud about now when you're here?
Let me take this one. So I was lucky enough back at university that one of my professors scouted me and he proposed me a bunch of work on cybersecurity. I had a major in cybersecurity, so I was focusing on that part. And I did some developing work around, at that time was an idea of an IPS and the concept of antivirus and virtual machine. So without belonging too much, but that was my first approach, or my first mentored, if you want, approach into cybersecurity. And hence why I say mentoring is so important, because if nobody kind of channel you through that, it's kind of frustrating, or it's kind of overwhelming. It's an overwhelming field. There is so many areas. I started my journey in there, then I started teaching. I got more and more mentee. And I tried to pass even the smaller knowledge that I was gathering at that time to them, and trying to direct them through which certification to take. But if we break it down, cybersecurity fields, in order to start properly, and a lot of my mentee actually asked me, how do you start properly in building up cybersecurity? Well, you killed structure it up in the more traditional way. As Haral was saying, you can start as a system administrator, know a little bit about networks, then go into web development, or knowing a little bit about development, web front end, middleware, understanding a little bit how systems are structured, and start breaking it down with the security field. So security is nothing different than knowing how to configure, how to do things right. So knowing a little bit about everything and then deciding which field does excite me the most: the social engineering, the protecting operating system, or hardware, or developing new things. And then you decide to become an expert in the various fields. But I say it's kind of a sandwich. You layer on skills around different parts, and then you decide which skill to actually become an expert in.
Yeah, thank you. What's your thoughts on this, Haral?
As I said before, I kind of got into security just because I was a system administrator, and also that happened by chance. And it was like then back in the time sharing days where we had a system that we're sharing between different teams. And when I would get it back, there would always be some Easter egg in there. So I started writing auditing tools and productized that, and kind of went on from there, and went into development and realized that we need to have proper crypto and authentication and all that, and moved off to another project that got me introduced to OWASP. That was like in 2010 when it came to Orange County, and after that I was part of OWASP, and that opened more opportunities, or at least more knowledge, getting into teams with software development lifecycle, and putting security into that. And this new thing now that everyone's talking about, shift left. It's not that new. You just need to common sense to actually get to that. And in my team, I did interview and hire some people that were actually not in security before. So I realized that really any good developer or DevOps person can be great in security. They just need some training, and that's a start. So when you start out, the best thing to do is learn, for example, Bash and a scripting language like Python or Ruby, and then you actually have a foundation to learn and build from that.
Oh yeah, that's a wonderful point. And Scott, what's your say?
So I got into security just like most people from friends that I had in college. So there was the security club. I had never heard of it. I saw it on Facebook, went to the first meeting, and it was digital forensics and steganography. And I really loved how you could learn something in like 15 minutes and then just practice it and use it. Like most things that I'd seen at least weren't like that. And so I really enjoyed that. Kept going to meetings. The president of the club was interested in pen testing, and so he got me into that. And I basically decided at that point, I didn't really care about defending anything. I just wanted to attack things because it's more fun. And so that's why I decided I'll just go into pen testing. And luckily, 2 years ago when I was starting, it was already, security was pretty big. So first I interned at Symantec in the Bay Area, and that was really awesome experience. And that's where I got into inclusion and diversity as well. I was part of the Lean Interns program there, and several other things which were really awesome. And I also started, as soon as I got back to school, I started mentoring people in technology and in security, and then I joined Synopsys doing pen testing, which was exactly what I wanted to do. And my perspective on getting started now is I think there are enough resources, more than enough online, really, really good resources, most of them free, that people can use to get into security without spending money on anything, definitely it's helpful to have a mentor to know what to look for, but and to know that there are jobs, because it's still not very visible, I think, to the wider community that security is like, you can just choose security and just do security, and that's it forever. And you don't need to go through, I'm not a developer, I'm never going to be a developer, and I've never been one. And that's okay. And most people, many of my colleagues at least, hate coding, and that's fine. And so lots of misconceptions. So I would say, just try lots of things. So everything builds on itself in security. So try everything, figure out what you want to do, and just go hard and do it, and you can. So yeah.
Thank you. Zoe, you want to ask something?
Yeah, I mean, so any recent projects that you want to discuss, whether it be, volunteer and leadership, or, anything you've been working on your own without giving company information. I know that Haral, we have, interesting OWASP outreach stuff coming up, and, every year you lead AppSec Cali, which is one of the biggest AppSec conferences, which is fantastic. I highly recommend it to anybody. And, Francesco does regular podcasts, and Scott goes to conferences touring, but anything else that I might be missing, anything more specific that might be interesting that you want to share?
Yeah, actually, on this more recent challenge, I got some friend that got furloughed, some friend that lost their jobs, and that they say, okay, how do I upskill myself? What is the hot thing that is going on in the market? And one of the hot thing is actually cloud security. So with the Cloud Security Alliance from the UK, we decided, we're going to start reintroducing each chapter. So I think the LA chapter is doing like a study guide for the various cloud security certification, specifically the CCSK. And we are starting something a little bit further on, where we're going to give a free training, so walk through every chapter and the main areas to help other people upskill. And we're doing a number of webinars where we actually giving out the knowledge of, this is the certification part. So in order to become a cloud security architect, these are the things that you should consider. In order to become a pen tester, these are the things they should consider, without just locking in people. So that's one maybe of the many projects, but is the one more significant, I think, at the moment, for people that unfortunately have lost their jobs and are struggling right now.
Really important stuff.
Yeah, AppSec Cali, we did do a diversity program for scholarships for people to attend, for people that would not normally be able to go to conferences, or people new to the industry. And initially, like 6 years ago, that was like a veterans kind of program. And now, for the past 3 years or so, it's been like a general diversity panel, not only for people of color, but also LGBTQ and the various other disadvantaged categories that want to help get into security. And with our local so-called chapters, we're kind of, each one of us used to do like a meeting locally, but now we kind of pull together and cross-promote, and we can have 3 or 4 meetings a month of great content for people, and some of them are workshops, like learn how to use a tool like Wireshark or Burp or something like that. So that helps a lot of people starting out.
Really awesome. Yes, and thank you again. It's a great conference, and what you guys do for diversity and the whole agenda is amazing.
I have one question in mind, I want to discuss and add here. I'm so sorry, Scott. Do you want to share something? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is, we are all in community, and we are in part of different communities altogether, and still we get in touch. We share posts, like whenever Francesco shares something about Mentoring Mondays, we do share it. Like, okay, the audience should actually see that. But the major gap which I've found is, even though we are sharing so many resources, I see people connecting to us on LinkedIn, and the question they have is, hi, thanks for adding, and I have some questions about cybersecurity. How should I start my career in cybersecurity? And the moment I read that message, I feel like, okay, I see that this guy or girl, they are added to so many connections around who are actually leading cybersecurity, who are part of cybersecurity. We share so many posts. So where is this gap? Like, we are sharing a lot, but actually, why it's not reaching the audience? Where's the gap?
Let me try to reply to that, because I received that over and over and over. And I say, well, just follow the hashtag Mentoring Monday, or as we modified with Tanya, because unfortunately the hashtag has been taken over by a marketing campaign and spamming it around. We rename it Cyber Mentoring Monday. But aside from that, I think it's about putting the time in there and having the curiosity, and sometimes it's about community and building that relationship with anybody. So people are overwhelmed by the amount of things that are going on, and sometimes they don't know where to start. So even if we share a lot on, okay, that's why I'm hammering a lot in especially of recent, how to start in cybersecurity, what are the paths. In all the Mentoring Monday podcasts we discussed, there is at least a 10-minute discussion around how did you start in security, what did you study, or how did you evolve, so that people can get that content. Nonetheless, if they're not directed towards that content, if they're not specifically told, look, in this podcast there is this specific information, they will never watch it. So, and a lot of people on they get bombarded on Twitter with information, and they barely read 10 seconds an article, 10 seconds of a podcast and so on. They get bored. So maybe with this COVID-19, we have more chance to slow down and read more stuff. But actually, I've seen the opposite, where people overshared everything.
Exactly.
And people are even more reluctant to read anything. So maybe that bit of personal relationship or personal advice makes much more effect rather than sharing the content. So I still reply to these messages.
Yeah, I would say I agree that it's just too much. Like if you're not in security yet, you don't really know. Like you see also lots of things that don't necessarily agree. So you might see one person give one piece of advice and then another person give different advice. So you're like, I think finding one person to tell you, like, here, based on your situation, this is what seems to make sense, rather than just like otherwise it's hard. And then someone might spend some time on something and then realize that's not actually what they should have been doing. So I think that's definitely the issue.
So you're thinking it becomes too much overwhelming for them at the same time, too much information in front of them and they don't know what to say.
Too much generic information, or maybe disagreeing information.
Yeah, unstructured information.
Right.
I agree with you, Scott. Is unstructured, is bits about AppSec, and then they say bits about a pen test, or maybe bits about a conference here and there, and they don't know, where do I start? What is this stuff about? Instead of just a learning part. That's why Hammer is like a sandwich. You start with the network stuff and you start getting along. And maybe pen testing is a very good exercise, because in order to attack something, you need to recognize it. So maybe the career suggestion that we should give everybody is start toying around with how to break things or how to try to pen test. Because when you face the problem of, I don't know what this protocol is, you go and study it, but you cannot sandwich. Because right. Scott, as you can clarify, maybe as a pen tester, you start with some reconnaissance, and then you start learning about what the system is, and then what vulnerability are, and then what operating system is running, what application are running. So it's kind of a layered approach that maybe push you to learn more about stuff.
I agree completely.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say I agree, except some people, that's a good start for some people, but other people might be scared off by that. So it's really, that's the issue, is everyone needs a different path. So just, yeah. So I agree. Yes, that's how I. So go ahead, Haral. Sorry.
Right. I think getting into the industry, the main difficulty is getting like your first job. And a lot of people say get certifications, but unfortunately, a lot of the certifications are kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So I think that another way is learning something. There's a lot of free training online. Google has pen testing and Burp, like Support Trigger and other companies do that. But also there is development projects. It's good to sign up to help a project, because that kind of helps build your resume and something you did. And this is what companies usually do when you're looking for it. And when people ask me, okay, what can I do? Well, that's the thing to do. Get involved with something that you can put in your resume, whether it's your pro bono time developing, or helping, write a cheat sheet on something you know about as part of a project.
Or helping your local OWASP chapter.
Right. It helps so much to be part of something from the start. And OWASP has several projects. I guess some other, does Cloud Security Alliance have something similar for cloud?
Yeah, so we have a lot of research paper. We are actually, I'm allowed to mention it. We are publicizing the new standard to be a certified auditor for the cloud. And with the exception of the other certification, our certification is open book, so the material is for free. The training, there is training available, but it's affordable. We do a lot of advertisement and knowledge, and the certification is around $150 to $300. So it's still not super affordable, but it's manageable, and it gets you certified as an official auditor. There is the CCSK Plus that are both on overall generic cloud security information, and we have a lot of research paper. And the chapter does some research, some advertisement, some community work. So ISA is a similar organization for security. IC Square has its OCA chapter. So there are tons of initiatives. They're sometimes conflicting. So one of my big pet peeves is trying sometimes to bring all these chapters together. And we actually managed to do it once in London with all the 4 chapters. OWASP, ISA, CSA, IC Square, and we are all in one single pan.
One thing about that,
wow,
I'd say one thing that I've really loved, like there's so many organizations, but finding the ones that overlap in like that are security focused and diversity focused, for example, because those are the people that care about the things that I care about. So that really helps. And that also, you find like-minded people who are able to guide you and you trust more because they agree. So
I don't think we should make the difference, though. I don't think we should differentiate by organization that support diversity. It should be one and only.
It should.
I have as one of my principles that half of my board needs to be female-led or diverse, not male-led. And the chapter, we have the objective to have it 50% women. We are almost slowly but surely approaching that, but in cyber it's already difficult to find women, with the exception of the fantastic Aastha and Zoe and the other community. But in cloud is even worse.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
wow.
right. Yeah. This brings to my next question. Like, people want to switch, and some really want to switch hard. Like, they are very serious about switching their careers, but somehow they're not part of IT. And they want to switch their career in cybersecurity. For example, we can take an example like, I got in touch with one person who was working with the airlines industry, and he was into marketing, and he lost his job, and he reached out to me like, can I join cybersecurity? Can you just guide me to one area from where I can start? Because I don't think so I would be able to do pen testing. I have no idea about pen testing. So which area would you suggest, like, I can easily grasp, I can easily understand, like in 1 or 2 months, or do some kind of a basic course and start applying for a job? So what do you think about the individuals who are not from IT background, who are from, like, perhaps from a mechanical or a business background and electronics or whatnot? It's just besides IT, and they want to get into cybersecurity and they really want it. So what do you have, one area or 2 to 3 areas in mind from where they can start?
I would say you should get a broad base first. And this also brings up a note that So I'd say do several courses in several like basic courses in different areas and see which one speaks to you, because one's going to be really, the easiest thing for you is going to be what makes sense to you. So like pen testing was easiest for me because I liked that. And so it's going to be different for everybody. And so like what I used to figure out all the different areas was there was a CISSP set of courses on lynda.com, and I did all of them, and it covered like all of security. So that really helped me to understand how things fit together. So doing either something like that or several basic courses in different areas. But what I was going to note was, once you watch something like that, you'll notice skills or tools that are used in the area that you're interested in. So definitely you want those on your resume, right? But before you put it on your resume, learn it. And so that's the path. So figure out what you want to do from these courses, identify the tools and skills that are needed, and then learn those and then put them on your resume. Make sure you don't put them on your resume and start applying before you're actually ready, or you'll push yourself back. So.
Francesco and
That's a good
Haral,
point.
you guys have anything?
I'll let Haral speak. You know, I'm Italian, so I can speak for England. Otherwise, I take over all the time, so I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, actually, Scott made a very good point here, and getting the broad knowledge is necessary if you want to have a good idea for to target your main interest, because then you really know what you really like. And not everyone can go into pen testing. You can do other things in security.
Yeah.
You know, there are security teams that help development teams, and someone that comes from an engineering type of background may be well suited for that, because they have the mentality and skills to learn language and, you know, learn something like that. Now, if you come from marketing, well, you know, that may be a little different. So then you go into, maybe a different field, but only when you look at a broad knowledge, then you know where to go next.
Yeah, I will agree with Scott and Haral. You need a broad spectrum. So the CISP, the IC Square certification, even if you don't want to do the certification itself, even if you look at the chapter and you start looking into the initial part, you start getting, okay, this is the area that I'm interested in. This is what it talks about. That's the good part of the CISP, because it's broad spectrum, it's generic, and it doesn't dig in the various areas. It's an introduction about the cybersecurity, and that's what I love about that certification, even though it's really hard to go for it.
Right.
CCSK,
There's other cases, though, of, you know, like other careers in security, like auditing or compliance or other things that, you know, some people may find easier to transition to if they come from a non-development or non-security role.
Yeah, as an accountant, for example, you might find it easier to go into auditing because you're used to that kind of practice and reusing that skill. As I had actually a story of one of my friends that, Dennis, that had a nurse turning into risk assessment, and she was brilliant because she caught up like this on the security term, and she was used to do risk assessment because, you know what, in HR, in an ER, you do that all the time, like on the fly. So those are the set of skills that you should just abstract and then reapply to different things. It's just having the knowledge of the different areas. And for example, in the cloud, you have the CCSK and the book of knowledge that does the same job as the IC Square, where you have the broad spectrum of this is the stuff that you should consider for the cloud, and then you start digging into, oh, this is area I'm really interested in for the cloud. And I keep on hammering the cloud stuff because sometimes I'm Cloud Security Alliance first, and second, we should get more people on this new world rather than training everybody in the old world, so that maybe we can push the boundary of security in the cloud a little bit. And everybody will be in the cloud probably in the next 5 years. Every company will be in the cloud. So we need more expertise in that.
Okay.
Good point.
Sorry.
Yeah, the cloud is, you know, the future, especially if, you know, everything's remote now. It's already kind of the future.
Yeah, and we're using Zoom, so we're using a cloud service as we speak.
Yeah.
All the time.
Everybody is using the cloud, and specifically this COVID-19 pushed a lot of organizations to reinvent themselves and to be more remote or use more cloud service because maybe they didn't have the capability. I mean, one of my clients, HSBC, had from a day to another the whole entire China office that there was, I think, 1,500 people, 20,000 people. Completely from home. So what do? You don't have from one day to another the capacity to upskill your Citrix environment or your remote desktop or your whatever remote connectivity environment out of the blue, because the same people that need to upgrade it are the people that are home. So you use a cloud service.
Yeah. So thank you so much. We have been hearing it for like a long time now, like in the past 4-5 years, like this is the era of cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is the future, and everybody wants to know. And the people I meet across, like in last year, they used to seem like, okay, cybersecurity, hot topic, you're in cybersecurity. So now when COVID-19 has hit, where do you see cybersecurity future now? What's the scope of cybersecurity when we compare it with other industries and the economies are hit hard? And I saw a lot many articles like cybersecurity is, again, we are on it, like we are the future, because after this COVID-19, all the industries and organizations would be hit by, and they are actually hit by a lot many risk, mortgage and whatnot. And so where do you see the scope of cybersecurity and the professionals in the coming few months or in the next 2 years, when we are just going
So,
to the economy now?
to take off from that, what we see is a lot of people that did not work from home before now do. Like most companies now, they say, okay, we don't want to take the liability if you're coming into work and getting infected. So everyone's working from home unless they absolutely need to be in the office. So we noticed that, I don't know, Zoom was saying all along that they actually had encryption, but they just bought an encryption company a couple of days ago and they said, oh, now we're going to add encryption to our product. So that kind of worries me. And a lot of companies actually say, well, don't use Zoom for really sensitive meetings. But I think I kind of went off on a tangent here, but what I wanted to say is that working from home will be the norm going forward for a lot of people that can, because companies were hesitant before because they didn't trust the employees to do everything from home. They wanted to see them, they wanted to talk to them, have the meetings. But now you can work from home. If teams produce results, then that's the way to go. And maybe then companies can save money by not having the large office spaces that they had before. And that means that more things will be done remotely. Security gets pushed to the edges. And now you need to adjust your security stance to make sure that your remote employees are secure and they're not gonna compromise your corporate network. So there's a lot of movement in that area, and we're going to see companies, come up with new solutions for that.
Yeah.
If I take on Haral, I completely agree. We will see more and more company going completely remote or half remote or off remote. In the UK, it's a little bit more used to. In banking, it's a little bit less of a common thing. And just to quote one of my favorite TV series, The Mandalorian, this is the way. And it's gonna be from now on. I mean, we just heard the CIO from Barclays saying we're never gonna have all these people close in an office, because remote working will be the way, even if it's not maybe every day. It will be maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and that will be useful for reducing pollution. But then that creates a lot of more channel to attack an organization that always relied, all my employees are in my office, I have a hard shell, the laptop never gonna leave the office, out of the blue find themselves, the laptop, the endpoint, one of the critical point of access is actually outside the perimeter. So what do I do? How do I connect it secure? How do I protect the environment? So the office has spread across multiple places and have been forced to spread across multiple places. So I think cybersecurity will be much more relevant. There will be budget for cybersecurity, who knows? So we might go for a downturn where the economy will need to recuperate, organization will need to recoup, and is always a risk-based exercise. The problem with cyber, usually the risk-based exercises are a sign of the risk, because people don't perceive cyber threat until it blows in their face. And then after 1 or 2 or 3 incidents happen of a laptop being stolen, compromised by a ransomware, or somebody getting phished because maybe it didn't use the VPN or stuff like that, then they will either lose the job if they're on the C-suite, or they will start taking it seriously and then lose the job. I don't want to. No, jokes aside, that's a grim perspective. But I've seen a lot of organizations not doing a risk assessment properly, and with everybody going remote, I think the first thing we should do is get together and do a proper risk assessment of the perimeter has disappeared. Please don't serve me zero trust or the other candy shop terms. But the perimeter has disappeared. The laptop are effectively there. end user computing or the place where the office is. So how do we secure it?
Yeah, I agree. I'm worried. We're just getting to the point where lots of organizations were getting hacked, and then we're making security priority. And then now people are getting fired from security and job openings are closing. So I think we might go through that again a few times. Hopefully not, but
Yeah.
But it's also interesting with that perspective, people getting fired, but also other people getting into security. So, for example, Facebook has completely disbanded the security office after their CISO left, and they start introducing the concept of security in a completely DevSecOps way. So everybody's responsible for security. Every product, it has the product, and I don't think they still have a CISO. So they try to push the product and the responsibility from the security in every kind of teams. Now, not everybody is as mature as that. Some other organization might need a driver, but that's an interesting concept where a lot of organizations will have a very distributed security field, because that will remove the strict need of having a massive cybersecurity team.
Yeah.
The Facebook security team provides a security person or makes available a security person to development teams. That way he's there. He can help in day-to-day decisions to make the right decisions. And a lot of companies have the concept of security champions, where they actually have someone from the development team or the product team. If there's interest in security of some of their role, they provide the training to someone to do that. And that way you have, when they say security is everyone's responsibility, that's not true, because not everyone can think about that. But you do have someone who can act as a security champion as part of the team, and then he can help guide the team to make the right decisions.
We should say security is everybody's consideration, not responsibility. We should modify it. If everybody considers security, and then they can refer to a security champion to actually, or a security person to actually ask the additional level of questions, we will already cover the 80% of due diligence that will take us much more further.
Yeah. And how would you actually connect? For example, there are airline companies, okay, and right now nobody's flying, everything is shut down, and there are layoffs, and they are in a big I would say bankrupt. One of them declared themselves as bankrupt. I don't want to mention their name, but yes, they are suffering a lot, and those airline industries are somewhere connected with the credit card industries, and these credit card industries have their risk department and cyber department. And what now I see is the effect it had on the airline industries. It has pushed the need of more cybersecurity professionals in those credit card companies, because they need more professionals now to assess the risk, what risk they with these company would have. For example, if these airline companies and other hotel companies or restaurant companies are not able to pay them back. So do you think this can be a push where cybersecurity professionals need will grow, like in one of these examples?
Well, maybe they can recycle in risk assessor or assessor as a generic. So maybe like lending themselves to other team, or having other team lending their resources in there. So maybe the marketing department doesn't have a lot of marketing to do because there isn't much to sell for a specific company. So they can help in the help desk, they can help in learning new skill, they can help in being a champion or a coordinator, or being a communication officer in any team. I mean, there is a lot of things that a specific person can reuse their skills for. So I think it's the brain of the organization to actually reuse resource in different options
and not lay them off.
Anything.
And not lay them off. Yeah, because this is one discussion I had with one of the professionals. Like, he was worried about like why companies are why they're laying off employees from their company. They can use them in the other department, and they would be needing, we don't know in what department, but again, everything around in COVID-19 is regarding security and risk only. So whenever the very first thing we talk about, when we talk about economy, people and everything, it's the security and risk, be it the physical risk, be it the virtual risk, or be it the cybersecurity and information security domain, the data risk. Everybody right now is concerned about like the term risk and security. So what I am getting to like actually conclude, and what I can see around is, if one particular organization is going down, the other organization which is connected to it or it's working with it, they are in the need of more professionals. So it's like a cycle going on. Even if a lot of people are now losing their job, they can like get back, or the organization can just reassess them, put them into trainings, immediate trainings to their employees, and get them into the new departments where they need them.
Or maybe something that recently Airbnb have laid off, I think 30% of their workforce or even more. And what they've created is they were heartbroken to letting those people in out, but they created a job board or skill set, so that they publish every single person's skill set and abilities and recommendations, so that other employee could actually pick up those person from the place they were. So if organization actually might need to furlough or might need to let people go because they are struggling, I mean, money against money, so they will need to survive, otherwise everybody will lose their job. But if they do the extra effort to actually support the people in the next step of their career, so maybe recommend, or maybe there is, if tech organizations, specifically in the Bay Area, could get together and share that back end of knowledge for their employee, and saying we need to let this batch of people away, who can take it on, maybe that could be a good effort. And Airbnb has done an amazing first effort in that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think as far as, potential reskilling and employment opportunities, I think now more than, and also in other contexts, this is a specific kind of wake-up call to the intersection of business continuity and security and just kind of operations as a whole. And, operations into DevOps, it might be a stretch, but in terms of like, but they totally are kind of paralleled in a way. So as far as trying to specifically train a non-technical person in business, for example, into the security, you just got to put in those terms. I know I studied business, but I was kind of always in tech from the start of my career. So that kind of, has specific meaning to me. But when you really look at these kind of, scenarios and use cases, it's good for explaining a real life scenario as you, kind of mentor them on specific skills and specific technical security skills. But yeah, in several ways, this is just more and more kind of harsh but useful wake-up calls.
Yeah.
You got to use them, because if you have to rely on feedback always, and this is just a smack in the face type of example of that.
Yeah, who would have thought like one day this will happen? Like, and I think it happened like in 3 weeks. Everything changed when March started, and when March ended, the picture was like complete upside down. Nobody would have imagined like this would happen. And I think the most important thing right now is the businesses to have a better business continuity plan, which they have risk and business continuity. That has to be in picture. And if they don't have, they can just push their existing employees into that department. And I don't think so. Like many people say that it's difficult to train people in the area they have never been. So it's better to just hire someone else and lay them off. But the most important thing is those employees who have worked for your company for like, even if for 2 years or 3 years, they know a lot about your company. They have the knowledge,
business awareness.
Yeah, and that's
Right.
how they can help. It might be like if one person knows, just put 4% under that person who will train them and work with them, give them that kind of a work which they are capable of doing it right now. But that's the whole picture. Like they should understand the people who have been in the company for like 5 years or 10 years, they have a much more business knowledge. And even I would say what we call is kind of an intuition, business intuition, when they work in a company for a long time, and other than the employees when they join the company new in such a scenario when things are like totally upside down.
Right.
It depends, but the company position. So Amazon is really great about that, and whenever an employee tries to leave for a specific reason, they always try to find them at different areas of different departments. So for big organization like Google as well, the business context and the business awareness and the investment that the company has done on these people is worth. HSBC is exactly the same. For somebody to get up to speed with who does what where in various other parts that I've seen, it takes 6 months. So that's an investment from the company. That's like throwing money out if you lose a person because you have to retrain another person. So I think more organizations need to get clever about reusing resource and not using the first available option that is like laying everybody off or panic mode. We get rid of everybody. I take 2020 with a more positive spin. Instead of being the year of COVID, I call it the year of great reflection, because right now we are all stopped by the rat race, so we are less worried about, the small little things. Yes, we're worried about how do we buy grocery and other stuff, but we have actually time to actually reflect, stop, and think more strategic, be more innovative, because we are pushed for that. And I think the organization needs to do that, needs to think a little bit more strategic, how to reuse resource or use that spare energy time, not to do back-to-back Zoom call, but to think, how can we do things differently? Because now we have the chance. I think the world has given us the chance to think different.
Well, that really depends on the organization, because a lot of companies, they actually had a very good cash flow for the past few years, but they chose to buy back stock, which now means there are no cash reserves to weather this out, and they may be forced into doing that. So, it'd be great to be able to repurpose or retrain some of their employees. They may not have the financial capability to do that right now. And it's great to reflect, but for the people that lost their jobs, that's not how they're thinking of it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And another note there, with moving people around a company, I know at least in my a lot of people my age, they don't want to stay at a company for a long time, and I think it's been shortening over the last few years of how many people staying in tech or at companies for however amount of time. So I don't know if that will make any or have an effect on any changes that companies try to make if people want to leave anyway. So.
Yeah,
also true.
What is the driver though, and people want to leave very early? Because I've seen, at least my generation, people want to stay in an organization a little bit more, depending about the role, depending about the stuff, the higher you go, and maybe you stick to an organization with a little bit more time, like 2 or 3 years at least, to actually realize something that is impacting the organization as a whole. But Scott, what do you think is the driver to actually change so quickly of this new generation?
So there have been lots of studies saying that the more often you switch companies, the higher salary you get over your career, the more money you make. There's people like adventure, so having a new company every year or two is exciting. It's from my experience, I just got totally lucky getting a good job where I started, but it's basically impossible during interviews, during anything, talking to people, to know exactly if you're going to enjoy the job or not until you get there, until you know if you like your manager, if you know how the culture is, since people are leaving all the time, the culture changes all the time. So I think it's just a combination of lots of things that just seem to indicate that you're better off there's not a big upside to staying somewhere for a long time or trying to.
Actually, a thing that's been pretty true for a while, because younger people tend to move more because they're still filling out their career, they're looking to get different experiences.
Yeah.
But
and let me tell you something, we'll never figure it out.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
all about
Yes, yes,
transparency. Maybe sad
that's
news, but
true.
it's exciting news. And
I like
I'm
also
sorry
it
to
dropped the
interrupt.
bomb in
I'm
there.
sorry.
It's
I'm
like,
sorry, Haral.
I will not know.
I'm gonna let you finish, Haral. But yeah, brutal honesty. Yep, that's me. Continue.
No,
Sorry.
that's same with me. I have
Okay.
switched a lot in the aim of like learning more, exploring different areas, and luckily when I was working with different companies, I was working in different domains, not just in one domain. So that was my aim for switching jobs. Like when I have worked in like identity and access management, I wanted to move out to like security and event management, and before that, I was in vulnerability assessment. So for me the main major aim was to touch different areas of security. I didn't want to stick to one area. I wanted to learn more, and to learn more practically it was important to switch a job and work in a real time project. So that was my point of view at that moment.
But isn't that putting a big hurdle on onboarding and on getting up to speed with a company and so on and so forth? Having the business contact, business knowledge, knowing who to deal with what.
Yeah, it is, but again it depends on the individual. It's like I'm the one, whenever I have joined a company, I have easily got into their business, learned it out, because I have that particular habit of exploring things, like getting deep down. So even before joining an organization, I would like research on it a lot, see what the business is. Okay, what I can learn from it in the future. What should be what should be my learnings out of this company. So it all depends, I think, on the individual who's actually going through this process, and everybody is different with different personalities. So I think that makes sense. But again, people say like staying in a company for a longer time gives you more experience, gives you more wisdom to learn about how business works in an organization. So
But
that's also true.
That would really
Right.
depend on the company, right?
and I would also say that people's priorities are different.
Yeah.
So even though switching might mean you have to learn more stuff, maybe that's exciting to have to onboard all that stuff. Maybe like a totally new group of people is exciting. You know, maybe you don't like the colleagues, so it doesn't matter if you're actually learning stuff. There are just lots of reasons why that's worth it, and it's definitely costs a lot to the company, but to the person it might be a benefit. So
Right. So many variables. Yeah. Workforce, security, or other. It's just so much, but so relevant.
Yeah.
Are you guys seeing that happening even after COVID or during COVID? Like, hasn't COVID put a stop in there with people clinging on more for job security or for job or keeping their job more? When I was discussing with some of my friends, and they're all saying, "Well, it's great right now that we have a solid job, solid career that still pays us, and we can work from home, and that's great."
Yeah, it's
Well,
like people are, yeah,
right
no,
now,
go
a lot
ahead.
of companies are actually, even if they had open recs, they kind of froze them. So I don't think you're going to see people moving right now by choice,
Yeah.
because that would be difficult to do. But probably like, after the fall, when things open up, then we might see more of that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, it depends actually, because a lot of people who want to secure their job, I think now they are giving their 200% to be there, and they don't want to create any situation where company can lay them off. So I think now, right now, people are wearing multiple hats in an organization. Like if their managers tell them to do so, and they're like, okay, I'll do that, because they are in this constant situation where they are in stress and tension of not losing a job. And the second thing is, even though they can find a new job, but the thing is, even though they can, but they think like, why should we give this chance to happen to us? Why should we lose a job? Let's give our 100%, not even 100%, like 200% right now. No, I don't think so. Nobody wants to lose their job at this moment.
yeah, I agree. I think right now it's definitely lower. I was just saying in general, and it's not. I don't think it's gonna last that long, right? So yeah, still like looking forward. I think it's gonna keep staying like that.
So
Good projections.
yeah. So as a community, like we are part of OWASP and different communities across in cybersecurity. What do you think, what type of sessions and what type of, I would say, webinars we should be getting now in future onwards, seeing what the scenario is, something to cater to the audience and something to pay forward to cybersecurity as well as a community? Like, what should we do besides and regular sessions which used to happen, like conferences, webinars and sessions? What should be the right amount of content which should be coming up in our communities, and how should communities collaborate with each other in this?
I think we should give shorter content, but more on point and more frequent, because right now there is so much content out there, and there was a lot more before, but now there is even more. So we should be careful about spamming content that is more than 20 minutes long or more than half an hour long, because people don't have that attention span. And even though they have more time, there is more stress on people, kids. How do I do grocery? How do I sanitize? How many times do I need to wash my hands? Have I washed my hands? Am I touching my face? All these things actually drain completely your mental capacity to deal with other stuff or be aware. So I think shorter, brief content, video is better, so we can keep that interaction going. Live video, live interaction is even better, because then we can have that feeling of, well, we're still connected with friends rather than I'm watching a video, because it creates that distance. And career driven. So how do I start in cyber? How do I do specific things? As Haral was saying, how do I use this specific tool or things like that? Very, very small, brief, on point content. Yeah. What skill do I acquire? How do I get better in cloud security? Or how do I get in as a cloud auditor? Or things like that. General knowledge, and then maybe more specific or more targeted content of how do I solve this specific problem in the cloud, for example, or with application security, or with the tools available right now.
I think someone that's looking to get into security now, they have a lot of choices of online content. We see that DEF CON and Black Hat are going virtual. And a lot of, I think RSA might have been the last conference that was in person.
DEF CON is cancelled. It's not going virtual. I think they just canceled it and say, be happy about it.
It's virtual.
Well, okay, they're thinking about it, right? But I think they will probably do something virtual.
It's okay not going virtual. It's okay not going virtual. Everybody's going virtual. I have so many requests. It's much harder to connect on a virtual conference. I mean, so we did the all-day conference with Alyssa, and it was great because it was the first one we could get out to for all the people that were looking forward to talk. The problem is doing a conference virtually is a completely different beast, and organizing it is a completely different beast, and delivering good quality content is a completely different thing. Getting sponsors is challenging because they don't get the face-to-face time they usually get into the traditional conference. As a speaker, you don't get the feeling or the reaction, so it's much harder to speak towards the screens and say, well, I don't know what my audience reaction is, or if I'm targeting the right audience. The attention span is much lower. People get distracted much easier. It's a completely different skill set. So,
on the other hand, the barrier of entry is much lower. You can do a virtual conference for a lot less money. That means you don't need as many sponsors, or the sponsorship isn't as much. So it is very doable. And the sessions, I know you said people get distracted. That's true, because there's so many events, people have to work.
Oh, people do that in person too. They just hide it better.
But you can call them out. If you're a good speaker, you can ask a question. You can just catch their attention. You can give a verbal slap. Was like, oi.
Cold calling. You're tough.
I know you've been to my presentation. You know that I do that. It's like I throw a question out there.
But the good thing is, even if they get distracted, the content is usually recorded. So then you can watch it later. If you say, hey, I really wanted to see that, then I can go back and see it.
Yeah, which is good, except like when I say I'm going to watch something later, I don't do it. So I think it's another individual thing where, like, some people, like for me, I get the value, like being there with a person, it's a lot. You can, like, the human interaction, there's more I don't know. Yeah, it's more engaging, I guess. It's easier to ask questions, and
it's not about content, it's about people to people. I
Yeah.
think the conference fundamentally is about people to people
People
and
to
how do
people.
you connect.
I agree.
And that's about it. I was reading, Ken Morrow recently published a great blog about the great speaker, and the content is much lower. As a speaker, I usually terrified to speak to other technical people because it's like, I know less than them, and if they call me out, I'm terrified. But it's all about how do you deliver stuff, how do you deliver things, and that's why I was stressing it. Online, you don't have, as a speaker, you don't have that feedback and that relationship with the audience that is so critical for a speaker, because you don't know if people are entertained or if you're boring them or if you need to make them laugh and stuff like that. So it's much harder to organize a thing and to deliver it.
Yeah.
But on the positive side, Haral picked on the positive side, it's cheaper and it's much more affordable and accessible. So people from less fortunate countries that can't travel, for example, to US or to Europe, can watch it virtually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Haral is also like a conference expert again. So always glad to have your insight on that.
We're moving our meetings, as you know, virtual, and we're using Twitch for our meetings, although, Zoom and Google Meets are other good platforms, and YouTube. So I see different chapters doing different things, but content, I think that going back to teaching people how to do something and picking something really relevant helps, get people tuned in to your meetings and build a community.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. That is like, it's like the events are not canceled. They are going on even though, but of course we have that excitement going on when we have to go there. So we contact each other, be there and actually plan for the following days. So that's not going to happen. And that's the major fun. Like, it's like meeting people after a year, because mostly people in specifically in AppSec or Global AppSec or Black Hat, they meet after an year when it's happening again. And that's the excitement. That won't be there, unfortunately, but yes, it's like the show must go on, so things will be there.
Another note is that companies probably are less likely to give their employees time off for a virtual conference. So people are going to be less engaged with it. If it's during the week, they're going to have to still do work. Maybe they're going to do it overtime, or like it's harder to
carve out that time.
Yeah.
No, I think it's spot on what you just said, because Black Hat was actually born as a way to have corporations sponsor it. The DEF CON, effectively, the business version of DEF CON. But I think you're right, Scott. We should push organization to actually say the conference is still a conference, is still a way to learn almost for free.
Right.
Yeah. The next thing, I think this is the last thing I really want to discuss, as I know you guys support women in cybersecurity in all domains. Many times I have seen specifically the women leaders on LinkedIn who post something like their blogs or their session. Each time or multiple times I've seen some XYZ people commenting on those posts like, why do you advocate women? Why do you want to advocate women every time? They are CEOs in the company, even men are there. We don't advocate men. So why are you like advocating women across security, like women in cybersecurity, these InfoSec girls? Why do you talk rubbish? It's completely rubbish, and you just want to promote yourself, not women. And it's harsh because many women across, like Vandana is there, Zoe is there, I know Jessica, Nilofer, many of them are there, who are like working really hard out of their regular schedule and taking out time for these things to happen. And at the end of the day, besides all the comment you get, this one comment actually hit your heart and you feel like low, like, what did I do? Is it something wrong? So what's your say in that about like promoting women? What's the idea? Because I know we are not advocating women. It's just we are creating more awareness. creating more awareness to bring women in STEM, women in cybersecurity, to bridge the gender gap. That's our main aim. It's not about just promoting women and not men.
I think it's you hit the sweet spot. That is promoting talent, not women in cyber. Just women. I mean, cybersecurity and specifically tech has been a male-dominated for so many years. So if we don't give a push to actually sponsor and promote women, but I think we've done a good job right now, and we should slow down and just pushing the agenda of diversity and start pushing the agenda of diversity together with good quality, tipping the balance over, saying good people and just saying stop with quota, or maybe slow down with quota, or don't hire just because of quota or things like that. Because I hear a lot of, it's almost backfiring, because I hear a lot of men that says, well, I'm skilled, why do I need to be taken over by a woman because it's just a woman? So it actually creating the decremental effect of hate rather than that positive effect of we should leave more space for women. It's not hiring for the sake of you're a woman, you should definitely gonna have a job. That was right, and that created the right environment. But I think we should focus on talent, and that's it.
I think the issue is the opportunity gap. So like Aastha mentioned about awareness, women are less likely to be aware of the jobs because there are fewer women leaders in security and fewer women in the areas that they're interested in, and other underrepresented groups. And so my goal is to target the opportunity and awareness issue. So going to students, going to kids, people who are underrepresented in security. There's a reason for that, and so trying to address that and make them aware of what they need to do to get in, because there are more resources for people who are overrepresented, and so that's what we should be targeting. And the reason, so that's the biggest thing. And I love security, and so I just want to share it with people. So if there's a group that's less likely to have access to it, they're the people I'm going to target.
All to make people curious, so to discuss about cyber a little bit more. So just go in the pub, pick a person, and just discuss about security. Not out of the blue, but everybody discuss about security in a way or another. So making other people aware in your circle of friends and stuff like that, so people can get curious about stuff and say, "Oh, this cybersecurity is actually cool."
Well, actually, Scott touched on something very obvious here. That's the opportunity gap, and also in many countries, a pay gap. That's can vary around the world, and and talent is the other thing that you need to recognize talent regardless of sex, and that is the main driving factor, because otherwise you're wasting talent and you don't get the best results that you can. There's a joke that women politicians get in less wars, think things through, right? And
so, I've said you should run for president only half jokingly several times, Haral.
Thank you.
So when you mention politicians,
I wouldn't be able to do that because I'm not very good for fundraising. I don't like doing that.
You're too smart and too talented to get into politics.
Let's not get political. Otherwise, we have the new YouTube censorship program. They might take us down.
I should put on my mask. Put on my mask.
Instead of filter.
Yeah,
that's
it's
for
right here. It's
sanitization.
accessible.
No, she's doing it for input sanitization.
I got that.
Is that a newest recommendation?
Yes, officially.
Point is that I have 2 daughters, and I want them to have the same opportunities I have, and opening the field to women, or all fields to women, will help them as well.
So shall we say every tech guy should have at least 2 daughters so that he can pass it on? Shall we make this recommendation? Please have daughters.
Standardization.
I think
to put this into a standards document.
If you were given the opportunity to go into security, it should be the responsibility to give that to other people. So
or help. So during this COVID, I was spending some time to teach some homeschool and help a friend of mine to homeschool their kids, and I started getting them into coding with coding games on the iPad, and he was surprised because he said there's so much into this. They're not doing anything else. They're just coding all day.
Oh my God, that's interesting as well.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's easy, but it's small initiatives. So it's
Yeah.
small things that can get, like talking to a friend, introducing her, mentoring even better. But just, cross-pollinating as much as possible, talking about this stuff so that people can get interested. And they don't see this as, I need to be super expert in every kind of field, or I need to be like a genius to actually thought on this. No, everybody can do it.
Yeah. And the most touching thing was I interacted with the women. She was not working. She's here in States, and she was not working for a long period of time due to kids. And she saw InfoSec girls one of our sessions, and she pinged me here. Like, hi Aastha, I saw your videos, and I know Vandana is there back in India, so I thought I should connect with you. So you are in States, and I would like to say you something. Like, after watching your videos, I really want to get into cybersecurity. I want to learn. I can see I can do it. And I think that's the motivation she got that day. She told me, like, she didn't understand a word from that session because she has no knowledge and background.
It's the personal relationship that she connected with you.
Yeah.
But that's what we need, more leaders, more people, more women that speak at events, more women that speak and do this conference. And that, if anything, could create a more in favor to actually dedicate. So in our conference, we dedicate half of the slot to women for a specific reason. If you see the other side as a woman, and I might be completely wrong, but another leader that is so powerful, you might want to be something like that, or you might be feeling inspired or more secure to actually jump in the security field because, like, then there are other women in that field.
Yeah. And the most inspiring part was she told me, like, I have a child, would I be able to do it? And I mentioned, like, Vandana has a child, and she mentions everything, and she mentions a job, and she was like, I think I can do it.
And he jumps on podcasts every now and then.
yeah.
If you look at our podcast together, the kids pops in here and and it's absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, and she was like so motivated at that time. She joined InfoSec Girl, and I think she's just creating a group there to start an Atlanta chapter soon. So it feels happy, like how we are making this difference. And that this is what we want to do, actually. And when I came here, I didn't know anything. Zoe was there, and I must confess, Zoe and Vandana were there, like, to support me, to say me, like, no, you can do it. And the funniest thing is, one day she took me to a session, and she mentioned me, like, I won't be taking it, it's you. And we went to Flatiron School that day, and 1 month later, I'm the lead instructor today there. So that's how we are making the difference right now. And not even Sheets, it's Vandana and everybody. So we are not just building community, we are helping people grow every day. And she's an inspiration. Not many of us know, but she did made a big change in my life. She did it. So that's why we are promoting women. This is the reason we are promoting women.
Right, having examples, having each other. Aastha is always there for me. Vandana is always there for me. Jessica, Laura, Donna, Nilofer, as well as you guys. But it's always good to have other people like you in a given scenario. Whether it be gender, whether it be something else that's a little bit unique, it always helps, especially at entry.
But I think from the same gender, it's more helpful. It lower down the barrier. If you have a woman that help a woman, lower down the barrier. Tanya sponsored the buddy program at conference to help each other out getting introduced. You feel much more confident if you have maybe somebody of your same gender next to you, less threatened maybe. But that's what I see during mentorship. And that's why it's hard for men to mentor women sometimes.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, guys. And one last thing, if you have something to share with the audience, Haral, you for like conferences, like scholarships, because I know a lot of people who want to join conferences in person every year, but they don't know how, like how to be part of the scholarship programs. Do you want to say something on that? And Francesco, something you want to share with the audience, and Scott, you, something you had in mind to share today with the audience?
Yeah, usually we start planning for apps in California around July timeframe, July, August. And when after we come back from DEF CON, usually we put the website up and information about how to apply for the diversity scholarships. Assuming that we have a conference next year, we'll do the same thing. And also, you know, keep track of all the different opportunities for virtual events like OS Orange County, Santa Barbara, Inland Empire, LA. We all do events, and some of them are panels, some of them are workshops, and we learn something out of that always.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's helpful. Francesco?
So I think if you can share the links of our profiles or our various events, so that we can share as much as we can. If other people can follow us, then we share constantly on our page. I mean, I overshare sometimes. I try to constantly share if there is good content out there. With the Cloud Security Alliance, we're doing every 2 weeks this training session. We have a webinar on the 20th on the Cloud Security Center of Excellence. And following on, we're going to have that session about with recruiters in the room about how do you get in cybersecurity, what are the different career paths and things like that. So follow us, and you'll see the content, and I'll spam the content, and follow the Mentoring Monday or the Cyber Mentoring Monday now. If you want to share some content or some of your availability in mentoring somebody, just say, I'm an expert in this field. I'm available to offer half an hour of my day every now and then on this specific field. Please do, because other people can pick it up on that and say, I need some help on this, or I need some help on this other stuff. So use the hashtag CyberSecurity Mentoring Monday so that we can connect with each other even if we're isolating.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing this. Scott?
Yeah, so I don't run any organizations yet, hopefully someday, but I'll be speaking at the Source Boston virtual conference. So come listen to the talk, that'll be fun. And hopefully I'll be back to traveling to do diversity conferences and security talks soon. But in the meantime, I'm happy to mentor anybody who needs help or is interested in offensive security and or wants to get into helping underprivileged groups get into security or tech. So, yeah.
That's great. Zoe, something you want to share?
No, just that it was a wonderful discussion. And
Yeah.
excited.
Yes, I was like I was about to say, like, even though we are working across communities, you guys have been a great support to us in many ways. Like, we are connected with each other over the professional medium on Twitter and whatnot. But I know you guys are always supporting us, and we're always there. And thank you for coming to my channel today and express your thoughts in many ways in different areas and different topics. So thank you so much, guys, for coming to my channel today and joining me. And thanks, Zoe, for co-joining me as a host.
Thank you for having me, and thank you all for joining. It's been
Keep
amazing.
up the good work.
Well,
So
thank
you can
you.
inspire more people.